if you and your partner are not growing together, you are dying together. And there's two things in life: you're either growing toward love or you're fighting and you're dying. Fighting can also lead to love as long as it's productive. And fighting can also just be proper communication style, right? If it's a healthy way of communicating. But when you are holding on to resentment, that creates tension in your body. It creates so much, like, not only in your body, but in your brain, in your heart, in your mind, in your emotions. And what happens is if you can't forgive yourself, let alone this other person, you're going to hold on to all of this guilt and resentment and blame. And a lot of us finds it so easy to point blame and point the finger at the other person, maybe our partner or whoever it is, that we have a hard time living in peace, feeling free. See, because when we are holding on to that guilt and shame and we're not forgiving other people, we're allowing it to affect ourselves. Think of it as like eating poison, eating something toxic that just stays in your body. Well, we have to forgive people in order to let stuff go. So, forgiveness and mindfulness and compassion go hand in hand. In my last video, I talked about how to trust yourself and to gain self-confidence. And one of 12 steps was self-compassion. So today, in this video, we're going to explore a practice of radical compassion using the RAIN method. And this is actually from Tara Brach's article, or her blog, Tara Brach, TaraBrach.com. She talks about the RAIN method, RAIN, which is a practice of radical compassion. So what's up, YouTube? My name is Kellyanne Rose. That's what we're talking about today. Without further ado, let's dive in. So when you're talking about the RAIN method, first of all, we also have to point out that when we have a protection around us, we're never going to reach the true essence of ourself, of our core. If you think of it as like a circle, I actually wrote this down. So this is the protection circle. So we can't crack the code and get to our core being of our true essence of who we are in the middle of the circle unless we're vulnerable. And we're not going to remain vulnerable unless we put down the guard of protection. So in most arguments, there's always two options. You're either going to keep fighting and point the finger and blame at the other person, or you're going to check yourself and have compassion for the other person. So this is something that I'm learning in my relationship, is to really, instead of pointing the finger at the other person, at my boyfriend, my partner, or my family member, whoever it is, it's seeing what I can control and then looking at stepping into the other person's shoes and being compassionate. So the RAIN method, what it really does is helps us become more compassionate. It's just the practical of radical compassion. So we're going to talk about that in this video. And let me just talk a little bit more about when we've turned against ourselves or another person, forgiveness can really seem impossible. So, we're so used to replaying the story of blame that living with a tight heart can become our most familiar way of being. Yet we want to forgive because we understand that not forgiving hardens and imprisons our heart. So as long as we are filled with resentment or hate, we're chained to the sufferings of the past and cannot find genuine peace. We can't simply will ourselves into forgiving, but we can be willing. So this is why the intention to forgive is such a key element in the process. To be willing to forgive, even if not yet quite ready, allows the door open a crack and light inevitably pours in. So we might worry that forgiving somehow equals condoning harmful behavior or permitting it to continue. And I must say that I am reading this from Tara Brach's course on forgiveness and meditation, using mindfulness to release resentment and blame. So I'll put the link to that in this video if you want to go check out her course. I'm just learning here and applying all these things, learning what I need to learn in my life and sharing with you in the process. So we can't simply will ourselves into forgiving, but we can be willing. Okay, so we might worry that forgiving somehow equals condoning harmful behavior or permitting it to continue. We might worry that forgiving somehow equals condoning harmful behavior or permitting it to continue. That's exactly where I'm at right now. When we forgive, we're not saying, okay, I guess I'll just let them keep treating me in harmful ways. We can forgive and create every boundary we need to take care of ourselves and others. Nor are we denying responsibility when we forgive ourselves. Well, I hope that's true, because lately I've been very loving and forgiving, and I'm concerned that I'm not like that. My boundaries are like that. I'm still going to get mistreated by being loving and forgiving. While blame and punishment might temporarily interrupt a pattern of behavior by blaming the other person, they do not create the grounds for deepened understanding, compassion, and transformation. So I'm hoping that in my relationship, by being compassionate and forgiving and loving, that maybe my partner that'll create a safe space for him to transform, because he'll feel like I understand him. So only when we include ourselves and others in our heart do we serve a path of true healing, connection, and freedom. Yeah, I mean, we've really been butting heads, so maybe this is the solution, because it totally makes sense that until we can actually think with a compassionate heart, like, we're just going to be butting heads and we're really just going to get nowhere. Oopsie daisies. Okay, so only when we include ourselves and others in our heart do we serve a path of true healing, connection, and freedom. So check out Tara Brach's course on forgiveness and meditation, using mindfulness to release resentment and blame. And then in this video, we are going to dive into what the RAIN method is, which is a practice of radical compassion. So the acronym RAIN is an easy to remember tool for bringing mindfulness and compassion to emotional difficulty. So a tool for bringing mindfulness and compassion to emotional difficulty. So the R in RAIN stands for recognize what's going on. A, allow the experience to be there just as it is. I, investigate with interest and care. And N, nurture with self-compassion. So you can take your time and explore RAIN as a standalone meditation, or move through the steps whenever challenging feelings arise. So R, recognize what's going on. So recognizing means consciously acknowledging in any given moment the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that are affecting you, us. This can be done with a simple mental whisper, noting what you are most aware of. Awareness is everything. A, allow the experience to just be there, just as it is. Allowing means letting the thoughts, emotions, feelings, or sensations you have recognized simply be there, without trying to fix or avoid anything. You might recognize fear and allow by mentally whispering, it's okay, or this belongs, or yes. Allowing creates a pause that makes it possible to deepen attention. Allowing creates a pause that makes it possible to deepen attention. Pausing is great. Remember, we don't want to always react, and when we can slow our breath, stop, take a pause, take a moment, breathe. Once we slow our breathing dictates everything. Our breathing dictates how we think, how we talk. So if you're at a point of like you want to scream, and you just check yourself, you stop, you recognize what's going on, you become aware of the situation, and then you change your breathing patterns, that's when you can really control the situation and you're not just reacting to everything around you. You're observing it as like a third party, as like a ghost outside your body. Because that's all we are. We are just spirits inside a human body in this earth human vessel. So let's take control of our emotions. Let's take our emotions back. Let's forgive other people, release the resentment, find our freedom, allow ourselves to be free in the moment by controlling our responses, our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions. It's really hard when you're a really emotional person to control your emotions. I'm curious about the correlation between like past substance abuse and emotional control, because I wonder if there's like certain brain functions that can get lost when you like have used and abused substances, if you like lose control of your emotions. But I believe that everything can be relearned, taught, or just experienced over time and changed based on experience. Okay, back to the RAIN method. Recognize what's going on, allow the experience to be there just as it is, create that pause, which makes it possible to deepen attention, and then investigate with interest and care. To investigate, call on your natural curiosity. And hold on a second. Some of us just like to flow with life, react, not grow. I will state this again for the however many times I've said it already. I am in this life to grow. I'm in this life to be the best person I can possibly be. So none of this personal development, none of this self-help stuff, spirituality, growth is too much. Therapy, it's never too much. For me, I'm here to grow, and I'm in this life to do it. Investigate with interest and care. So to investigate, call on your natural curiosity, the desire to know truth, and direct a more focused attention to your present experience. You might ask yourself, and sometimes the truth isn't necessarily what's right or wrong. The truth is that person yelling because they're scared? The truth is that person crying because they feel out of control, overwhelmed? The truth is they feel helpless. They're not attacking me. They're having a battle with themselves. How can I kind of investigate the situation? It's harder to investigate ourselves, but practice on another person when they're going through something. You don't always have to take blame. It's not always your fault. It's not always something you did wrong when someone is screaming at you. Most of the time, it's not. My 90% of the time, if not more, if someone is acting or behaving a certain way, it's up to them. It has nothing to do, it has everything to do with them, and all you can control is how you react and setting your boundaries. Don't treat me like that again. So, and then that's where the DEAR method comes in, which I did another video on. Describe the situation as non-judgmentally as possible. Express how the situation makes you feel. DE. Ask for what you want. What I would like is this. Could you do that for me next time? Reinforce. Our relationship means a lot to me. I hope we can work this out. That's the DEAR method. So I'll plug that in here as well. Back to the RAIN method. Some people need tools. I'm using all the tools I can get. To investigate with interest and care. So you're curious. So you might ask yourself, what most wants attention? How am I experiencing this in my body? Where does my body feel carrying it? Where can I feel it in my body? What am I believing? Okay, am I believing that my partner hates me, or that he, am I believing that he's trying to hurt me? It's not intentional. So at this point, I'm starting to understand that those things he thinks it's out of his control, but he has so much more control. Then he realizes. So what am I believing? What does this vulnerable place want from me? Instead of screaming back, how can I be the bigger person? How can I be compassionate? How can I not be emotional? How can I just see this as a third party, as that ghost outside my body? What does this situation most need? So, whatever the inquiry, you're investigating the situation. So, your investigation will be more transformational if you step away from conceptualizing and bring your primary attention to the felt sense in the body. So, it's also, nurturing grounds that you feel safe. It's also important to find those grounds where you can argue, you can work on things in a safe space. Like when my boyfriend and I would break up, and we've probably broken up. I mean, it's embarrassing to say how many times, but we just get right back together. It used to be days or the next morning. Now it's like 15 minutes later, 5 minutes later, 2 minutes later, he's messaging me. It's like, this is ridiculous. At this point, it's like, I don't know. Hopefully it's a work in progress. So just going to pray about it. Nurture with self-compassion. So we're at the N in rain. Yeah, and it's quite embarrassing. I mean, I'm very vulnerable. It's very raw and real of me to just kind of like talk about my personal relationship on here. But if I wasn't going through this, I wouldn't be able to help you and wouldn't have the desire or the curiosity and interest to talk about these things and work through it myself. So, hopefully we can get through our therapy together. I mean, this is a bumpy road, and some people just reject therapy and altogether. They just reject it and they don't want to do it. So, yeah, I really need to, I need prayers. Is this going to work? Can we get through it? Emotions are tough. It does make me feel unsafe talking about it, especially like just, you're supposed to keep that like personal. You're supposed to not talk about that in the public. But again, I'm here to help, and I don't claim to be the expert. I'm just growing and learning alongside you together. We're learning in this together. All right, back to rain. N, nurture with self-compassion. So self-compassion begins to naturally arise in the moments that you recognize you are suffering. It comes into fullness as you intentionally nurture your inner life with self-care. So to do this, to have that self-compassion when you're, suffering, try to sense what the wounded, frightened, or hurting places inside you most needs. Try to sense what the wounded, frightened, or hurting place inside you most needs, and then offer some gesture of active care that might address this need. Does it need a message of reassurance, of forgiveness, of companionship, of love? I have to be the one to reassure myself I know this for the most part in my relationship. Forgiveness, yes, I always need to be that. Forgive. Of companionship, love. Experiment and see which intentional gesture of kindness most helps to comfort, soften, or open your heart. Is it reassurance, forgiveness, companionship, love? So lately, in the last couple days, I've been setting boundaries by saying, I'm not available tonight. I love you, but I'm not available tonight. And it's really sweet because my partner tonight, my boyfriend, he said, thank you for saying I love you. So it's like all I can do at this point. It's like, this doesn't work for me, AKA I'm upset that you walked out on me the other night and said you never want to come back, but then still talk to me, later. So it's like, thank you for saying I love you, Kelly. Thank you. Even though I'm setting extreme boundaries, like I didn't think we should hang out all week until our couples therapy on Sunday. But he's saying, thank you for saying I love you anyway. When I'm like, I'm not available tonight, but I love you. I love you, but I'm not available tonight. At least he listened to it last night. Today I didn't get away with it. He came and cooked me dinner. Okay. And it was like, the longer you hold your boundaries strong, like the more chances the other person is going to actually start communicating with you with respect and start respecting you. So I'm just going to keep praying. I'm going to pray. Okay, so back to the rain method. We got N, nurture with self-compassion. So experiment and see which intentional gesture of kindness most helps to comfort, soften, or open your heart. It might be the mental whisper, I'm here with you, I'm sorry, and I love you, I'm listening, it's not your fault, trust in your goodness. So it's literally like talking to your inner child, like yourself as you were a baby during this time. So instead of feeling alone and like your complete worth, you're so, is in this other person and all of your value and you're completely, vulnerable. It's okay to be vulnerable, but then self-soothe. Tell yourself like I'm here for you, or tell your partner I love you. I'm listening. Like tonight I told my partner, you're not a bad person. You don't have to be defensive when, talk to your work people talking about your project today. It's not your, like, you're not a bad person. You don't have to get defensive. So in addition to a whispered message of care, many people find healing by gently placing a hand on the heart or cheek. I could probably be way more compassionate with my boyfriend now that I think about it. It's so dang hard. It is so dang hard because to be that loving person, first of all, I can't get a word in edgewise because he can never be wrong. So when can I tell him like anything where, he's not going to listen? In addition to a whispered message of care, many people find healing by gently placing a hand on the heart or cheek. Hey, if you have any advice, comments, please comment. Like we are learning along here together. I'm just a conduit and sharing this information as I learn it myself. So healing people can find by gently placing a hand on the heart or cheek, or by envisioning being bathed in or embraced by warm, radiant light. If it feels, so you can do this with yourself, imagining the light surrounding you. If it feels difficult to offer yourself love, bring to mind a loving being, a spiritual figure, family member, friend, or pet, and imagine that being's love and wisdom flowing into you. So a spiritual figure, family member, friend, or pet, imagine that being's love and wisdom flowing into you. There's also a lot of loving kindness meditations. You can, on YouTube, just look up loving kindness meditation and it can kind of help you foster that compassion. And I actually did one of those yesterday and it was weird. I fell asleep. It was like 20 minutes or so, like kind of an afternoon break, just a midday one, and I fell asleep and I woke up feeling really like kind of icky actually. I was just like what do you call it? Yeah, it was really weird, like when your experience, for me, when you experience the compassion, the dichotomy, the complete opposite of that can sometimes surface, because when you're healing yourself, when just like, you're healing your body, just like when you're healing your body, all the gunk kind of comes up once you're healing yourself. So practice compassion, practice with a meditation and see what comes up. For me, it was like a lot of like, yeah, dark feelings, weirdness. I got to remember that. Okay, so just imagine that being's love and wisdom flowing into you to help you feel that love. After the rain, when you've completed the active steps of rain, which is R, recognize what's going on. A, allow the experience to be there just as it is. I, investigate with interest and care. And N, nurture with self-compassion. It's important to notice the quality of your own presence and the rest in that wakeful, tender space of awareness. The fruit of rain is realizing that you are no longer imprisoned in or identified with any limiting sense of self. Give yourself the gift of becoming familiar with the truth and natural freedom of your being. It's mysterious and precious, and that is dang right. Once you can be compassionate, release the guilt, release the fear, release pointing blame at other people, you forgive yourself, forgive the other person, forgive yourself, then you're free. Then you can feel free in the moment. And this is what self-compassion and the rain technique is all about. If you want to learn more, Tara Brach, Brach, is amazing. She has her blogs, she has books, she's got online courses, and I am just here to learn alongside with you. So I do have some meditations that I've been using for myself and been creating recently. You can go ahead and check out the meditations in my affirmations playlist. And other than that, I will have some more juicy, helpful resources and tools and guides coming out for you guys. But in the ladies, but in the meantime, I hope this video about practicing radical compassion was helpful to you. I'm new to YouTube, so please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I appreciate your support. And yeah, I'll also post the link on Tara Brach's course on forgiveness and meditation using mindfulness to release resentment and blame. Hope all is well with you. God bless you in all of your, just sending loving blessings in your New Year's goals this year, in your relationships, and sending you lots of growth and strength. Namaste.